Hey, welcome to the My Voice and Power radio show and podcast. Join myself and regulars every week and hear what we have to say on a variety of topics. We also welcome you to have your say in the comment section or by joining us here in the studio, which you can do by dropping an email to myvoiceandpower@outlook.com. Also, don't forget to tune in to the My Voice and Power show live every Thursday at 9 p.m. on www.unityliveradio.co.uk or download the app from the App Store. Right, hello and welcome to the My Voice and Power podcast and radio show, or podcast, as you were calling it earlier. Yeah, I'm back this week with
Nathan Lewis.
Right?
Yeah, it's been. When's the last time I was on? What, 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago?
Do you know what? I'm doing so much right now. I cannot even remember.
That insignificant. It doesn't matter. No,
you make yourself insignificant. Where have you been?
Busy. Just doing the daddy thing, doing the family thing. It was Easter. Work, lots of work. Other than that, just ticking away.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we do have a topic in mind, but actually, just before we started today, we were talking about the craziness that's going on after we've just witnessed like 5 emergency service vehicles flying up the road. And we was like, I said, it's the time of year where everyone goes crazy. Or did you say that? One of us said that.
I probably would. It would have been one of those throwaway statements I normally make. Yeah.
And then I was saying about it being Mercury retrograde. We've just had the eclipse.
Yeah.
And full moons and stuff like that have this impact. And then you just shared something really interesting.
Well, the story that I read about. So there are some true believers in the stars aligning and the eclipses and all these things. And I read a story about a lady in the US that had a strong belief that the world was going to end when the eclipse that just happened in the US last couple of days, when that occurred. So it's a really morbid, it's a really sad story, but because she had such strong beliefs that the world was going to end, she prematurely ended the lives of her children and herself because her belief was that she was going to go to a better place before the world ended.
Wow. I wonder what makes her think that the world is going to end. Yeah.
It's interesting because when they say the next eclipse that we're going to see is in 2050, for example, well then, is there a belief that the world's going to end then, or a new world has been created? But that was her belief. So
I was a bit paranoid. I was going to kick it all over. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we have our strong beliefs and stuff, but they have to be really strong to be able to take someone else's life, especially your children's life.
Yeah.
Deep. But I didn't even know about the Mercury retrograde thing. Is it Mercury? Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that.
And it is deep. And imagine, like, if you did that and, like, one of your kids actually survived, like.
Yeah. I mean, not to get too morbid or anything, but I'm pretty sure she probably would have made sure.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case, but it was really sad to.
But she must have died with guilt, because obviously you'd have to make sure your kids are fully gone first.
No,
I guess not. If you think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, her belief was that they were going to be going to a better place.
And so Mercury retrograde is about ends, and you get to revisit things to check to see if you can manage things differently, get some closure on stuff.
Okay.
Sometimes friendships can end, relationships can end. There's loads of different things that change during this time, but
so I'm not a particularly strong kind of alternative beliefs or beliefs person, really, in the sense of the stars align, Mercury retrograde, eclipses, things like that. I'm more of the traditional, the next day will come and it'll be fine. Like if the sun aligns with this particular moon and this particular star, etc., then it means absolutely nothing to me, but to someone else, it could mean that they're going to be coming into wealth next month or something. But it's the same way as reading your
Horoscopes.
Your horoscopes, yeah.
But the skepticalness that people have about them makes sense the deeper into astrology you go. And the reason being is because we don't just have a sun sign. So when you read your horoscope, you read your sun sign. The sun sign horoscope that is given is a generalized horoscope.
Yeah.
So you have to use your own initiative and intuition to see whether or not what you read aligns with anything that's going on for you. But you don't just have a sun sign, you have a rising sign and a moon sign, which all account for all of these different things, where the planets were when you were born. So like, you have to really know astrology to be able to not work it to your advantage, but to know how to use it in a beneficial way.
Yeah, because when you started to say about the horoscopes, I was thinking, but I could read every single one and I could still apply to me. Every single one, I go, oh yeah, okay, I can see myself. And as you say, using your own initiative and your own thoughts, and rather than guidance.
You could, but it's not likely. And anyone that you do feel like you align with could be your moon or rising sign.
But then, as I say, this stuff, it approaches me at 1,000 miles an hour and goes.
But are you not religious?
Oh, that's a question, isn't it? I've become less so in recent times, but then I wasn't particularly strong in religious beliefs in the first place. But yeah, I've definitely questioned myself a lot more now. Well, not that I question myself. I question religion a lot more now than I used to. And you know, the interesting thing. So when I put my son to bed, we've got the little book of Bible stories.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
because you
and
mentioned it before.
I sit there and I go, do you know what? I'll be fair and I'll read the stories to him. And when you start reading them, you think this is kind of brutal. This is these stories are. Am I actually comfortable sharing these stories with my son? But
yeah,
it does. There's a belief that it's a very good story and being told in a very or Christianity, should we say, is a very good story being told in a book, and lots of people have then connected with it and said it's my religion, and then it's become what it is. I will look at the book of Bible stories and go, these are stories. They're all connected, but then I think to myself, oh, these are they're trying to teach a moral standard for people when they're reading them, but they are dark. Some of those stories are dark.
Yeah.
But I'm not. But then I say to myself, from a religious belief point of view, I question a lot more stuff now. Like as an example, being in athletics, you'll always see athletes or sports people, particularly doing the cross sign to God, something like that. Particularly if they win, and then. Say, for example, argument's sake, there's those people in the race all believe in the same God, have the same religion.
Yeah.
This is always a question that I always think, if you ask this, what would happen? If they all believe in the same God and the same beliefs and the same religion, why is it that you one person has performed better than the others? And I know it can be down to the training, etc. But they would say, I'd like to thank God for the help I've. But then, surely the share of help from God was across everybody equally. So they should all be of an equal standing. They should all be roughly the same place.
But wouldn't equity play a part in that?
Yes, but at the same time, the person that comes last in that race, do they say it's because of my faith in God that I came last, or is it because I did something different, or is it I thank God because I'm in the race or whatever sport it may be?
Yeah, I would have said the last one, because obviously everyone has something to learn from wherever they end up at.
Yeah.
But it's interesting as well. So the reason, like how we've ended up there, is because I know people who follow religion don't really like to look into astrology even though a lot of religious holidays are based on where the moon is, which is astrology.
Yeah. There's the classic element of religion versus science.
But do they have to verse each other?
Well, there's the evolution of man that... Oh, we're getting really deep here, aren't we? This wasn't even the subject today. The evolution of man, like religion will go, no. Man was created by God, so it didn't evolve from a newt or whatever it may be.
But it's still science.
Yeah.
We might not know the formula that God used.
There's still be staunch religious people saying that it's got nothing to do with science.
But science is nature's way of progressing, is it not?
Well, that's the loose definition of evolution, I guess. But I think, what did I hear the other day? Science is a way of proving whether something's right or wrong. No, science is the way of proving that something is wrong. So you'll continuously do experiments to prove something, continuously. Whereas from a religious point of view, God made the world, he did this, he did that, end of story. We don't need to test anything, we don't need to understand anything else apart from he created it. That's where it ends. He created man, he created woman, that's where it ends. Yeah, well, I mean, even then, like Adam and Eve. So I had to go through that whole story with my son. That was an interesting conversation. So the rib is what is where a woman comes from.
Yeah.
Really? Then you start to question things like that and you go,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so so there was what did I see the other day? Something about I can't remember what it was I saw, but it jogged my memory about how there are two sides to the brain, and men are more left-sided than females. But if that's the case, fine. But then if females can have masculine energy, and I know there's not the strict definition, but females can use both sides of their brain. So surely men can as well if they're taught to, because through one of my therapy sessions, I've been told I'm very good at using both sides of my brain, which would explain why I can also have a lot of male friends, and probably more male friends than I do female friends.
Okay.
Because I can be understood, and they can also understand me. And I would say that it's my life experiences that have made me be able to do that. Yeah. So surely we can teach men to use the right side of their brain a little bit more than what they maybe do or don't.
It's interesting that, because that was the topic.
Especially if we are born from the rib of you.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry.
Because that was the topic of today, was friends. It's interesting what you said there about you possibly have more male friends than female. I would say that maybe a few years ago it was skewed the other way for me. So I had a lot more female friends. I say a lot, probably marginally more female friends, when now it's definitely skewed a lot more to me being in touch with a lot more of my male friends.
But is that because you're in a relationship?
No, I don't think so. I think you do go through different stages in your life where, or I always say that the friends that you will have for life are typically the ones that are around you around the ages kind of like 18, 20, 21, kind of around there, because they're the formative years of where you're going to be. And they always say they always say that the mental age you are at around about 26 to 28 is the mental age you will have for the rest of your life, which is interesting. So this way that your thought patterns, the way you think, etc., you can be taught more stuff, but how you view the world, etc., is normally set around about 26, 28. This is not my opinion. This is what I've read.
I was going to say.
This is what I've read.
Yeah. Sorry, it's my face speaking.
Yeah. which is good. But I always say the people that you always gravitate to the people you want to be around. It's as simple as that. When you're at university, when I was at university, I gravitated to the people that I enjoyed having conversation with, I enjoyed being around, enjoyed going out with, I lived with them, etc. And you would, and this is a society, you gravitate towards the people that are probably most more like you, because you feel comfortable in what you're doing. Now, in relation to being a husband and a father, I'm probably gravitating more now to more husbands and fathers that are friends, to see how their life is going, what they're doing, not comparison of what we're doing, but understand what each other's doing within our lives around that area. Now, I still have my female friends, but I don't talk to them as much anymore. It's more definitely more towards the male friend side of things.
But is that because the females are in different places, like maybe they're not mums and stuff like that? Yeah.
I mean, I'd still have, to coin a phrase, my ride or die crew.
Yeah.
Which will be my university crew. So the university group that we all kind of get together try to do it once a year now. It used to be every year religiously, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. But responsibilities increase and people move further away, etc. So yeah, I think you're in different stages. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
See, now, obviously, we mainly go by our own personal experiences.
Yeah.
Whilst and obviously I'm also open to what you're saying because that's your experience and probably the experience of many. So where I was when I was in my 20s, I gravitated to people who were different to me and was having different life experiences, I guess, to... In fact, no, let me go back. So when teens, I was going out clubbing, getting into clubs I probably shouldn't be getting into, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I wasn't happy. I didn't know that at the time. But I did know that at the time, but didn't know how to do anything different about it at the time. Then in my 20s, so I had my first child when I was 18. So then obviously that kind of changed and kind of like, then obviously then changed some of the people I was around. But motherhood aside, I wasn't around anybody else that was like different. I was probably around people that were familiar in terms of unhealthy patterns, and that's in friendships as well as relationships. So people that I was friends with in my 20s, I'm not friends with now.
But then that's a result of circumstance, I would have thought. So the circumstances you were in then possibly wouldn't have been what you would have chosen to be, the situation you'd have wanted to be in. But that was where you are. That's where you were at the time.
Yeah.
So you've moved away from that, and now you're in a situation, or more likely in a situation where you'd rather be, which means you're rather around people you'd want to be around with. And the people back then with the circumstances that you didn't really want to be in, maybe you don't want to associate with those people, or you do, but not as frequently, anywhere near as frequently as you used to.
No, there's none.
Yeah.
So like, and I'm even surprised that I have one friend that I have, and she's the only friend that I've been friends with since secondary school.
Okay.
So how I've maintained that friendship in itself is beyond me. And obviously, like, you know, she's had different friendship groups, we've had friendship breaks, so there's been like loads of different, like,
it must be reciprocated from her side. So
she, as well,
she must want to, the same way that you both want to be in touch with each other.
Yeah.
Then that's the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
If it's one-way traffic, then we kind of go, well. You know.
Yeah, and see, and I think that's been a lot before. So one of the things that therapy again also taught me, most of my life lessons are from therapy. So you're like, like,
it's a good thing.
like, so it was a case of, what did she say to me? So I went to heal from the trauma that males had inflicted on me, and then uncovered traumas from the female side, and then learned that actually some of the friendships with girls that I have is because of the type of females that they are problematic. And so, yeah, and so I don't really, I don't know, I don't really be like around anyone as such. And I think I have always struggled with that friend terminology.
No, really. Yeah, I can understand that. You can have acquaintances, people you know, people you're aware of, friends, true friends. There are different levels, levels of the cake, should we say.
So 2 questions for you right now. Are you still friends with people that you went to secondary school with?
Yep.
And second question is, how do you define those people in their own boxes? Or maybe that's where I'm going wrong, but that's me compartmentalizing. That's just naturally what I've grown to do.
So similar to what I said around who I'm more in touch with now versus to who I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Secondary school has always been there. We've always been like a close-knit group of lads, shall we say. And we've always gone on holidays together. We've always met up. We've always, if someone's got a birthday, we go out for someone's birthday. If there's a meal, if there's random times to just meet up. And then sometimes the group can splinter off. So 3 people catch up and 5 catch up here or 2 catch up there. But there's always a way of communicating between everybody. So before it used to be kind of text message or emails they used to send each other. But now with the invention of WhatsApp, we've got a group.
Yeah.
We've got a group. And I would say that from secondary school, I would say there's, without counting them in the top of my head, on the top of my head, I'd say probably about 10 to 15 people from secondary school that we still are really close. And by that, what I mean of really close is I could not see you for a year and a half, but then when I see you, it's like I saw you yesterday. So if we go for a meal or something, it's like nothing's changed. We just sit, we chat. We give each other updates about what's happened, etc. But we still chat the same rubbish, just to have the same jokes, and still take the mick out of each other. That's cool. And I think over time it's interesting actually, because the pressures of today's life, which we've gone through before, it feels like as we've gotten older, we've become a lot more comfortable with being able to share our emotions with each other, etc. Before it was a bit of bravado because it was lads and I'm the best thing, and I'm the strongest, I'm the fastest, I'm the cleverest, I earn the most money, I've got the best car, whatever it was. Whereas now it's kind of like, guys, I'm struggling. I've got this on the go. And then everyone rallies around and supports and says, we're always here to talk or come around for a meal or whatever. So there's been a few instances of that recently where people have just gone, do you know what, you're feeling the pressures of like today's life. And it's like, yeah, we are. So everyone's like, there's the rally of support and stuff, which is good. And I think that that unit has always stayed that way because we've always been open and honest with each other. And so if someone's having trouble, you say, come around, have a beer or have a drink or have a meal or something. And 9 times out of 10, they'll come around. So I think that unit from our secondary school, I always say it's a bit special because you don't find it that often. And when people ask me all the time, you still in touch with people from school? Yeah, of course we are. Oh, like 1 or 2? No, several of us. Like we'll go on holiday, there'll be a big bunch of people. Or if we're going away, or if there's weddings or christenings or whatever it may be, we're all there. People are like, oh, that's unusual. But then for us, I don't think it's unusual. But then those individuals will still have their other kind of groups of friends as well. So they have their uni mates, or they'll have some people I know still friends with their primary school people. And that's mainly because they went to primary school, then secondary school with them, and then they carried that on through life. But there are some people that I still think about secondary school and I go, I wonder what happened to that person. I wonder what they're up to. But at the time, I was friends with them, whereas now I'm like, I don't know.
I think the furthest mine goes is like Facebook. Like,
But even then, I just don't want to do Facebook now. I find it. Well, I mean, let's not go into social media stuff again. But I feel like I said to my cousin yesterday, funny enough, I was just messaging her. I said, "How are you?" etc. She was fine. I said, I feel like I need to take a break from everything for like a month just to get my head straight, concentrate on healthy eating, healthy living, gym, stuff like that, and then come back in just take it like a time out. She's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine, but I just need to take a bit of a time out just to calm down." And that meant turning off things like Facebook or Instagram or not WhatsApp, because you still want to be in touch with people. But yeah, I don't pay any attention to Facebook anymore. Absolutely none. To the point I can even think to myself, yeah.
Apart from me, obviously.
Yeah, but then we're in touch on WhatsApp and stuff, and you live around the corner. So, and for me, I'm like, I should really shut it down. But then there's that fear of missing out. You go, but then if I do that,
FOMO.
Yeah, and then all those photos that I've unwittingly given permission to Facebook to use, am I going to get them back?
Yeah,
all those things. But I don't really to keep. I think you naturally keep in touch with the people you want to keep in touch with.
I don't think that's always true. That has to be. They're
two-sided.
Yeah, it has to work both ways.
If it's me projecting, let's meet up, let's do this, and then it doesn't happen for like 5 years. And I go, okay. Well, I mean, it wouldn't take 5 years to take the hint, but
I was going to say.
But you go, all right, fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've got a unique group of lads. But interestingly, there's still a couple of girls that I speak to from secondary school, just to see how, like, because I went to Dubai recently. There's a girl that lives in Dubai with her husband and her family. She just had another little one. And it was really cool to hear from her, because I posted that I'd been in Dubai.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it did post on Facebook, but she did pop up and say, "Hi, how are you? How long are you here for?" I'm like, "No, I'm not there anymore. I just visited." It was cool to catch up.
Yeah.
And she said, "Yeah, next time you're over, just give me a shout." Oh, okay, cool. No, that's all good. If I do give her a shout and we meet up, great. If I don't, then at least we still conversed in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So if your school did a school reunion, would you go?
So we did do one.
Oh.
But to be fair, I don't think any of us went.
Oh.
And I don't know if that's because we were like, well, we're already in touch with who we want to be in touch with from school, and we can kind of see what people are up to. We can kind of hear what people are up to by other people. But was I interested in going? Not particularly. But then I also had, when I was going to school, I also had like friends outside school. So I had my close knit of friends in school, but then my friends outside school. So I wasn't really fussed about anybody else in school.
Yeah.
School was a place to go and learn and figure stuff out, not to be massively sociable and create 100,000 million friends. It just doesn't. I'm in touch with the people I wanted to be in touch with. Made friends with who I wanted to be friends with. They are still ultimately friends, and then obviously the people outside school kept in touch with as well. But then that may be my nature. Like I know I said to stay away from social media, but LinkedIn, business.
Yeah.
I want to say that loosely now. Business platform. I always call it the Facebook of business now. Yeah. So it used to be useful, but it's not so much so now. On LinkedIn, I have a lot of contacts because of the nature of what I used to do as a job, as in sales, what I do now in marketing. So I know a lot of people, or have conversed with a lot of people, or connected with a lot of people. And the one comment my wife always says is, you know, not too many people. She said, you know, a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you keep up with it all. I'm like, yeah, but that's where time flies, and you could be your priorities and what you need to do takes over. And then, you know, I could find in 6 months' time that I haven't spoken to any of the lads. I'm still included in the group and I still see the chat and stuff, but I haven't spoken to anybody because I've been so busy. And then I'll pop up and then 15, 20 people go, yeah, let's go out. Let's go for a meal or let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Oh, the whole go for a meal thing. What happens when the bill comes?
Split.
No questions asked.
No, I mean, it depends. I mean, if there are people that, you know, if people don't drink alcohol, then we're not going to expect people that don't drink alcohol to pay for the alcohol. It doesn't make any sense. But, you know, if we're not, this is where I mean that we're quite an open group. We're not that pedantic about, well, I had this, this, and this, so I only owe this much. If you want to be that way, then fine. We'll all do that. It's not an issue. You just break it down and go, okay, well, this, and then others will just go, do you know what? Just put half there. So, as an example, I went out for a meal a couple of weeks ago with two of the lads in the group because I hadn't seen one guy for ages. And I had the opportunity to. And we sat there and we were like, well, I had something slightly different. I had something more. And we just went and split it 3 ways. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So we just split it. It's fine. We're not pedantic to the point of. I mean, if we want to be pedantic, we can. And if there's a bill that comes out to £1,000 between like 10, you go, it's 100 quid each. Yeah, but I only had like a glass of water. Oh, right, okay. Well then, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, no, the meal stuff and when we go out for, I mean, this is a big summer of sport. She'll be interesting because we've all got our families now, so we've all got our wives and our children. We can't just go, right, see you later. Can't just drop things and see it like we used to do. So there'll be planning involved as well and say, look, there's this particular sport or there's this match on TV or do we all want to meet up for that point? Yeah, cool. Okay, can we get babysitters? Or is it, the other thing we do as well is we don't just say it's a lads only thing. We always say, is it plus minis plus wives?
Plus minis and plus wives.
Yeah. So
that's cute.
So if it's plus children, then cool, we bring our children.
Yeah.
If it's not, it's just plus. Okay, we need to find babysitters. Simple as that.
So that's interesting because that can sometimes change the dynamic of friendships when your kids don't get along or when the wives don't get along.
I think we're unique in the sense that I think we will know whether we like each other or not. So our wives will know whether they like each other or not.
Yeah.
But we are pragmatic with it. So we go, look, okay, you have your viewpoint on this, you have your viewpoint on that. We agree to disagree or whatever it is, and we just carry on. It's fine. And once again, I think we're unique in that sense.
This sounds like a group of people who have a high level of emotional maturity.
I'm probably not.
I said sounds like.
Yeah, I'm probably not one of those. But I think it's. I find it surreal because of all the people in the group, we're all quite successful at what we do. We're all doing really well for what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we all seem to be happy with what we've got. So that gives a level of security, I think. So you are then able to be open and honest about anything you want to. Or if someone upsets you, even it could be, I mean, let's figure out, it's probably been since I went to secondary school at 1993. I started. It seems so long ago. So long ago. So let's say 94. Let's say 95, where formation of friendships are getting stronger, right? So you're talking like a long time, 25 to 30 years of knowing someone and getting to know them, and you know, there may be the odd thing in between where you just don't speak to someone for a little bit. Or there may be a falling out between a couple of people. It doesn't matter. You have to have those frank conversations and just say, look, I don't agree with you on that, or I'm not happy that you did that, or don't speak to me for a while because it's really upset me. And then eventually we'll all gravitate back to talking to each other because we are open and honest with each other and say, you know what, that really upset me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it to come across that way. So that's where the emotional intelligence comes from. I think it's the length of time of knowing each other.
Yeah.
If I was to go out then like around the corner now and say, oh, I mean, it's never going to happen, but in theory, oh, do you want to be my friend? Yeah, cool. I would not know if I said something in a certain way, how that person would react. I don't know what their thought process is around it. I don't know what their understanding of what we could be talking about is like. Whereas in the longevity and the length of time of knowing these people means you kind of go, okay, I know what you're going to say, or I get a feeling of what you're going to say. Now, it's interesting because I know you said the last conversation you had with Darwin, he was going to go away and be more mindful about what his discussions with people or his dad, and actually think about what he's going to say in relation to what is being said to him or the conversation. And I sat there and I thought about it. When you told me that, I sat there and I thought, what do I do? And I normally practice the conversations in my head first.
See, and I never understand people that do that, because do you actually say exactly what you've practiced to yourself?
Sometimes, but I would only do that if I know the person. So I can have a conversation. I mean, my wife does it all the time. She has a conversation in her own head.
Yeah.
But I can have a conversation. I can run through lots of different scenarios of conversations with my wife, with a mate, with my son, with my brother, whatever. And I can run through the different scenarios and I can go, okay, that's a high risk one. If I say that, the reaction could possibly be this, which is then taking us down a path of, okay.
Yeah.
Or this reaction, this reaction, next reaction. And then sometimes you can look at the path or the roots of what you're saying and say, do you know what? I know it's going to take me down that path. I know it's not the path I want to go down, but I might have to say it to go down that path anyway. I'm just going to have to suck it up and and I do that quite regularly. And so when you were saying like, be more mindful, sometimes you just have to take the risk. Sometimes you just have to. I know I'm going to say it. I know it's going to upset you, but it has to be said, or I have to get it off my chest, or whatever it may be, to be more mindful. And I think with our group of mates, I think we all do that. We are conscious of upsetting each other, but we're conscious that sometimes you need to hear it, and sometimes you need to reflect on that. So
okay, so that puts you kind of like at an advantage, I suppose. So, but then does that mean you're less mindful when you're speaking to people you don't really know?
No, but I think you'd have less options in the sense of understanding what the reaction would be. So most people will know whether something's inflammatory or not. They would know, they get an idea, but if not, then if you don't know that person well enough, then the risk is there, the opportunity cost. So if I say it, I don't know how you're going to react, but it may be dangerous or it may be upsetting, but I may have to say it anyway. I think I hate using it, but the term woke now is used a lot. And I think now that's another way of saying that people are probably fully conscious of not saying something to upset somebody. So in the sense of...
and that snowflake?
Is that, well, it's a beautiful amalgamation and combination of all of these things, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm starting to fall back into the 1990s way of thinking or 1980s way of thinking. Like, just get on with it, or no, that's not offensive. Don't be offended by it. But you choose to be offended by what you hear. You choose whether you want to be offended or not. I know we always have this conversation, so I can choose how much it impacts me. I know you say triggers.
No, that is not even what I was gonna say. That is not even what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, actually, to make a choice, you have to have information.
Yeah.
In that moment, you're not necessarily making a choice. Because, and I should have picked this up last time when I was speaking to Darwin, because he was saying about responding to stuff, and I was using that terminology with him. But actually, there's a difference between responding and reacting, and how you react. In your reaction is a natural response. However, the way you respond after that then becomes a choice.
Yeah.
Because you cannot choose. If you say something to me that, and I've got no idea that you're going to say it, how am I then choosing to react in that way? You've got a reaction based on what you said. Then I have a choice on how to deal with it after.
Yeah. Which in my mind, you're blurring the two together. You should blur the two together. So my initial reaction could be like, what the WTF?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I'd go, hold a minute. I reacted badly to that, or I reacted to whatever they said, but I can now choose to either show that I've reacted badly, or project badly, or respond in a different way. Now, unfortunately for me, people can see when I'm upset with something pretty instantly.
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't react with anger typically. I'd question straight away and I go, well, why would you say that? Or what do you mean by that? Or what does that mean? Rather than my instinct reaction would be, you can't say that, or you shouldn't say that, or whatever it may be, or oh, that's nice to hear. Or I will blend the two together.
Yeah.
But the problem with me is that I wear my heart on my sleeve sometimes, and I go, right.
Yeah.
But I think once again, I can still choose how I'm going to react to that. Some people will go straight in. Some people are just beeline straight in. They go, you can't say that, and then it escalates, or
but
whatever.
That's something that has to be learned. There's not something that anybody just does. You have to be able to learn that. And actually, the difference between reacting and responding doesn't change how you feel in that moment. It's about how obviously you deal with it,
how you're addressing it. Yeah. And I think I'm trying to think if there's one recently. I think the only one that I've thought of recently was many years ago, where someone just automatically thought I was Jamaican because I was black. Now, number one, I'm a massive advocate for your home nations or your home islands, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm massively patriotic about Barbados. I'm Barbadian. Cool. If you don't know me, fine. But don't automatically presume that I'm Jamaican just because I'm black and I said West Indies. Oh, Jamaican? No. But then my reaction was, no. But why do you think that? Yeah, no, you can't.
Did you ask?
Why do you think that?
And what did they say?
So I just automatically presumed Jamaican. Where are you from? It's like, my family's from Barbados, and then issue done. Move on.
Yeah.
My initial reaction was, what in the world are you talking about? I'm not Jamaican. I'll let you sit there and talk about it for 2 minutes and then do the Jamaican accent, all that rubbish that people do. And you know what? Once again, information. If that's all you know is from West Indies, then fine. But at the same time, projecting that on everybody else. But then it makes me question, for that person to see a black person, does that mean that all black people are Jamaican? Even the African people that you see walking down the street, does that automatically make them think, oh, you're black? And those are the paths I can go down, right? I can go off on a different tangent.
Yeah.
But my choice at the time was, okay,
But I think anybody can make that mistake.
Yeah.
I think that there are cases where sometimes we become more offended if the person who is saying it is white. Like, people have thought I've been African before, and they're from Africa.
Yeah.
Like, so I think there's a lot of.
Once again, it's how you choose to be offended by it.
And again, I wasn't offended. It's just, for me, it's like, we can be so quick to
Mm-hmm.
point fingers and be angry at those people who are not the same skin color as us and who are assuming things or thinking things, but they're not the only ones
Yeah.
who do it.
No.
Like I've been ostracized on many of occasions as well for like so when I was following Islam at the time, I went to the hospital. The hospital's coming up again for an appointment, and I was seeing this really nice Asian woman. She looked nice. She looked like she was going to be a nice person, if you know what I mean. But obviously, you know, it's not something I overthink in these situations. I'm going there for a reason. You're a medical professional. I've got a medical problem. Let's talk about it. That's what I'm there for. But instead, she's like, "Oh, well, your name's not very Muslim, is it? That's not very Islamic, is it?" I'm like, hold on a minute. No, but that's because it was a choice I had made at a particular point in my life. Like, why am I having to educate you? And then this is my then assumption. Why am I having to educate you on something that you were brought up in? But just because she was brought up that way doesn't mean she's been taught everything that she needs to be taught.
It's your education, it's your understanding.
Yeah. So there's so much stuff, and like another time I was out with Charlotte. We've gone out for breakfast. Just sat there. Charlotte was placing the order, and I've just sat there, just chilling in the sunshine because it was an open window restaurant, or whatever. And this old Caucasian guy's come along. I can't even remember what he asked me now, but it was something to do with me because I was dressed in all black. I had on a black scarf, and he was asking me, "Do we wear black out in Saudi Arabia because of the sun?" Or I know I'm not making sense because I can't remember what he said properly. Again, I had a choice in that moment. I could have kicked off at him and been like, "Oh, what? Just because I'm black, you want to ask me?" But where does that get us? Like, we are angry at people for not knowing stuff. That was a moment of education for him.
Yeah.
How I responded or reacted in that moment was very important because I'm either choosing to be like all those typical black people that have got a bad attitude and I've got this and you know all of that, or I'm someone who has given him an education, and like he obviously approached me because he felt like I was approachable.
Yeah.
And I answered. I did think what? But I answered his questions, and when I turned around a bit later, he was actually sat at the table by himself, smiling because I'd chosen to give him knowledge, and he obviously felt a little bit empowered and felt good that someone had taken the time to educate him and undo his misinformation.
I'm a strong believer in the power of the question why. And by that, what I mean is, if someone like that decides to come up to me and say, "Well, why are you, I don't know, why have you got that earring in, or why have you got your hair cut like that?" And I go, "Well, first question is, why do you think I have?" And then we can start from there. Because in therapy side of things, typically the question would be, "Well, why do you feel that way? Well, why are you thinking that way?" And it makes you internally process it and figure it out and go, "Well, because of X plus Y equals Z is why I'm thinking this." All right, okay. Do you think that's correct, or do you think there's more you could learn about that? All right, and that's the same process that I would have gone through with someone that would have done that. Well, why are you saying that? Now, there's another way it depends on how they ask you as well, I guess, is another way. Because if it's said with vitriol, or if it's said and you go, "Well, hold on a minute," then you react differently. But I think it, as you say, it's the educational piece. It's understanding. Actually, that's why I love the question why. Do they actually understand what they're saying in the first place?
Exactly, yeah.
Or do they understand the gravitas or the weight behind what they've said? And I think if we put it down to a race perspective, the education and what we're told as children and what we've been told when we're younger versus different races is going to be different. Depending on different race that you are, it's going to be different. There's always people that have, I mean, we hear it, privilege.
Yeah.
There's people that are underprivileged. There are people that are just unaware. So our situations are never going to be the same. Your situation is completely different to my situation growing up. But we've been told certain things that are probably similar in certain scenarios. Like,
don't let nobody touch your hair.
Yeah, there's that. Or there's the, we could go into we could go into those ones. Let's not trigger.
No, go on, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, right. So you could do the like, your hair's different. Is it? Okay, yeah, can I touch it? No. Well, why do you need to? I don't go around asking you to touch your hair, it's fine. It's an understanding, and it's like recently.
But isn't that like an innocent curiosity? I know we have a very detailed,
it may be for children
backstory for it.
Yeah.
And yes, it may be for children, but adults are also children who are grown that don't still. No, I'm not making sense, but I know what I mean. Like you can only be as much of an adult as to what you've learned.
You can still be inquisitive about stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But there's also an element of you wouldn't do that to anybody else.
But you do things to people or with people that you're comfortable with. Yeah,
but at the same time, even then, if you ask a question, the answer is no, then the answer is no.
Yeah, there is that. So then that's about respect and boundaries.
If you feel you can ask it, then that means you know that person well enough to be able to ask
or you get a good vibe.
Yeah.
And you feel like you could ask.
Whereas you don't just randomly walk up to someone in the street. I mean, even then, that'd be a bit odd. Right?
Yeah.
Even in common sense, I mean, we touched on this with Darwin before. Common sense is an interesting area. But common sense would tell you don't just walk up to someone randomly and say, "Oh, your hair's different. Can I touch it?"
But is that not? I know it's different because you're going up to someone and you're asking them a question. Yeah, but we speak to strangers every day, and sometimes it's in those moments that we learn things or feel things that we may never have got the opportunity to do before. They're like passing.
Once again, there's a level of common sense to take with that. There would be. In reality, there should be.
Yeah.
There should be, should I say? I mean,
well, no, there shouldn't. There shouldn't be. There only should be because of the way people can't behave themselves. We should actually be able to walk around freely and not have to worry about the consequences of interacting with other humans.
It's interesting because what we're talking about is in friends and what we can ask and what we can do. So I have no issue with any of my friends asking me anything about my race, my religion, my family, whatever it may be. And there's an interesting one. So the whole George Floyd stuff, when that, I hate to use the word, but when that triggered what it triggered, right, and the uprising of statues being ripped down and Black Lives Matter, etc., etc., etc. It was interesting because there's one friend who I consider really close, but we don't see each other very often, and it's very odd in relation to we'll send each other messages, and it could be 4 months, and then we send each other messages, it could be another 4 months. But he sent me the most interesting kind of WhatsApp or whatever messaging platform it was at the time. And he said, I don't quite get what's going on at the moment with the whole uprising, etc. Can you help me understand a lot more? Or can you point me in the right direction as to how I can learn and understand a lot more? And that blew me away. So I was like, well, number one, of all the people I know, you're the only person that's asked me that.
Yeah.
Which is good, which means you're trying to learn, you're trying to understand. And number two, kudos to you for doing it, because That must have been pretty tough to go, do you know what? I have no idea what's going on at the moment. I don't understand it. I don't quite get it. Why is Black Lives Matter such a big thing in comparison? And they asked that question. I'm like, do you know what? Happy to say go and read or go and watch or go and look or whatever. And that was the.
But was there anyone else in your group that was offended that they didn't already know the answer to that?
No, because he's not part of that. It's slightly different.
Yeah.
But even then, no one in the group, I think everyone in the group presumes or assumes that they know why, which is fine. But yeah, he's slightly separated from that group. So he's a uni friends group rather than school friends group.
Right, okay.
But that was a sign of education and almost to me like common sense. I don't get it, so I need to understand it. What do I do? And who can help me? Or how do I understand? Now I'm not going to say I'm like the oracle of all Black history.
Why not?
It's just one, it's impossible.
Yeah.
And two, I don't know. Half of what I need to understand and know. But I said, there's things you can go and watch and understand initially about privilege and etc. etc. So off he went, and he's learned a lot more. And that's the positive side about. I mean, you can take the positive side of what was happening around the uprising, etc. Whereas, and then you have the opposite, where all lives matter and blue lives matter and white lives matter. And yes, we know that. But let's not go into the depths of that. But yeah, that's where I think it's probably, why was he so comfortable to come and ask me?
Because you're Black?
That, and he knows other Black people, but why me? Is it because of the way that as you said, once again, education is the way that I'm approachable, is it? Whatever it may be. Cool, I'm happy to answer. But, I'm not the voice of all Black people ever. It's just not the way it is. It's just from my viewpoint and from my opinion, go and look at this stuff.
But I think that's the thing. I don't feel like, so in that moment, I think it's sad that he had to think about who he could ask.
Well, yeah, I get you. But then, if he could ask anybody, you'd rather from my point of view, if he could ask anybody, I'd happy he's asking me, or happy, or go speak to these people. But I think. But then it's an education thing. If he's not sure, who can I ask? Oh, I'll ask Nathan. Cool. If he's not sure, that's cool with me.
Yeah, and that's cool. But I just feel like you should be able to ask. Yeah. Not necessarily anyone, but like.
So it's interesting. Do you know who said where we choose whether we? Well, I said we choose whether how offended we are with certain statements. So at the same time as that, someone else messaged me and said,
to hear the full radio show, which entails me reflecting on the podcast, sharing the answers to the social media question of the week, and playing music, go to www.myvoiceempower.com and scroll down to the radio section. To listen to the full show live, tune into www.unityliveradio.co.uk every Thursday at 9 p.m. UK time for the My Voice Empower show, where there is also a Your Voice Empower hour for guests who still want to be heard but not shown. They come and engage in conversation about either their business, project, event, or raise awareness about topics that are close to their hearts. Always remember to spread your wings, speak your truth, write it down, and let it go.